This is a PlayStation 2. It has 32 megabytes of RAM, the same amount my cell phone uses to show me the weather. 26 years after launch, and it still has a lot of life to live. And it's special because its media format is something that you actually get to own. Something that in this digital era is becoming less and less common. These are the things that I own that, unless I get no-knock raided by police, I actually get to keep. No accounts, no two-factor authentication, no 87 gigabyte day one patch, no terms of service agreement written by 6 lawyers in a trench coat, and I don't have to verify my email 6 fucking times. And for some reason that's becoming more and more unusual. For some reason along the way, we stopped buying video games and media, and now we only rent access to them. And unfortunately, that means your video games are disappearing. Media has always fought a losing battle to time. Cartridges corrode, discs and tapes rot, and hard drives die. And eventually every Xbox 360 develops a red ring of death and gets wrapped in a towel because some guy named Kyle on YouTube told you that would fix it. And don't do that. Don't wrap your Xbox in a towel. That's fucking retarded. Older games have one incredible advantage. They're just sitting there, tangible, ready to be played. Microsoft could collapse tomorrow and Bill Gates could retreat into his nuclear bunker in the mountains, and I would still be able to play MechAssault. As long as you have the compatible hardware, a lot of this stuff is pretty accessible. Obviously, there are some exceptions. Games have required external services for decades, and multiplayer has always been vulnerable to servers shutting down. I specifically recall a national tragedy when GameSpy shut down, but if you bought a single-player game at that time, it was pretty self-contained, and it was just something you could play whenever you wanted. If we compare that with the modern era, or at least the modern hardware that I own personally, it's considerably more convenient and it is a lot more powerful. Now, while it is convenient, it is kind of shitty that on my PS5 and on my desktop, I require permission to play any of the games that I own. With movies, I'm at sort of a crossroads. I haven't bought a physical game in probably 8 or 9 years. As far as movies go, I've been developing kind of a hefty collection of 4K Blu-rays. It's kind of the pinnacle of movie watching, but I still stream a lot due to the fact that a 4K Blu-ray, often on release, is $30 or $40, which is fucking astronomical. But as far as any newly released game, I've succumbed to the convenience. And that kind of sucks, because modern games aren't really individual products anymore. It's more like an ecosystem. The disc might contain part of the game, if there's even a disc. And then you get the day one patch, and then another patch, and then you gotta buy the DLC, and then it has to be online for the authentication so that they can prove that you have a license for the game that you are renting from Sony, and then more DLC, and then you have to make sure your account's up to date, and if you get logged out of your account for some reason, well then go make a new password, fuck you. And then, if you're really lucky, the game has its own launcher, and the launcher usually sucks, and you can't play the game because you gotta update the launcher. It's all just fucking tedious. This is what I would consider the biggest difference between modern and old games, and it's strange. Like, if I found an Xbox game at a garage sale 20 years from now, let's assume the disc survived, there's a pretty good chance I'll have the same game that everybody else had. But what exactly is the physical version of a modern game going to be 20 years from now? Is it version 1.0? Is all the content on there? What happens to the DLC? What happens to bug fixes? What happens if the game requires online authentication? What happens when that authentication server shuts down? At this point, it just stops being a game. When the system stops supporting the game that you've purchased, then you just have a glorified drink coaster with some badass artwork on it. We've already seen what happens when games disappear, when servers close, when storefronts shut down. Before you know it, your licenses expire, music gets removed, online communities stick around trying to figure out what the hell just happened, and sometimes the publisher will provide an offline mode. Sometimes fans will resurrect it on their own. And sometimes that's it. That's the end. The game just stops existing. which is fucking bizarre when you actually start to think about it. Like, what if you were watching Lord of the Rings on Blu-ray, and 20 years after buying the disc, you put it into your Blu-ray player, and Gandalf walks into Bag End, and then the movie stops? I'd be sitting there on my couch like, dude, what the fuck? I was just about to jerk off to Legolas, he's so handsome. The fucked up thing is that is happening. That literally just happened with a dude losing his digital licenses from movies that he bought from Google. And it was specifically the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's not fair that he bought those movies and it wasn't disclosed to him that they would be ending their license in 5 years. And it's not fair to me that I own a PlayStation 3 and a copy of MAG, and the experience can still be gone because some completely separate computer that used to live in a data center in Ohio doesn't exist anymore. Everyone that spends their time saving old hardware and trying their best to data hoard and preserve software, I fucking salute you. This part of the video is kind of obligatory, but if you're digging the vibe, you digging the overall message and tone of the video, then subscribe and comment. Tell me what game that you miss. What did they take from you? What has been stolen from you? Let me know in the comments. But seriously, everything in the world is dependent on community in some way, shape, or form, and video games are no different. World of Warcraft, Halo 3, and Destiny weren't just software, they were places that you could almost inhabit. And yes, I understand that World of Warcraft is still very much alive, I just haven't personally played it in like 10 or 15 years, so it feels like the past to me. When an online game dies, we don't just lose the code, we lose a little virtual place where people actually spent a decent chunk of their lives, which sounds kind of dramatic until you kind of think about the fact that I spent more time on Blood Gulch and Halo Combat Evolved than I did outside for like 2 years straight. Here's the thought experiment that got me interested in all this. Imagine it's the year of our Lord 2050, and you're showing your kids, or depending on how aggressively energy drinks continue shortening our lifespans, your grandchildren, the games you played when you were growing up. Now, I can do that right now. This is Halo. This is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. This is Luigi's Mansion. This is what games look like when I was your age. They're not identical to experiencing them at release, but the fundamental thing still kind of exists. I wasn't alive when the original Super Mario Bros. Came out, but I am nostalgic for the time that my mom introduced me to Mario and GoldenEye and Crash Bandicoot. But imagine we're all old in the future and we all somehow survive the absolute cataclysm that this country is going through, and I tell my kid, this was my favorite game when I was 12, and they say,
cool, can we play it?
And I'm like, no.
Why?
Well, the server shut down in 2037.
Can't we just download it?
No.
Do you have the disc?
Yes.
Put it in.
It's complicated. It's just so strange conceptually that games as an art form have become so finite. And thank God for the people doing the most important preservation work, you know, the people that publishers would really prefer I didn't mention. Those folks that tend to sail the high seas, the ones that build all those beautiful emulators that keep the hardware from becoming a permanent barrier for those who can't buy certain games or certain consoles. Now, I traded a few games, namely Parasite Eve and Silent Hill 2 and a few other things to get my camera recently, and I just decided to emulate them since I don't own them anymore, because I will be damned if I'm gonna spend $200 to play Silent Hill 2 again. That's fucking stupid. Now, I'm not arguing that everybody should go download a car, but there is something deeply funny about spending decades telling people piracy is destroying video games, only to eventually arrive at, hey, who knows where I can get a CD rip of Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2, since they don't sell that shit anymore. And guess what? After you rip that game, you can play it online with people still, because the community made that too. Anyways, this was just some food for thought after the whole Sony debacle of not wanting to make discs anymore, and I felt like it was the final nail in the coffin. As video game licensing gets more complex and a little more convoluted, and always online play becomes more and more prevalent, I feel like we're losing a lot more than we're gaining. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and I'll see you in the comments.